But you also wrote a manifesto
Right.
at launch, right?
Maybe like a couple months after, but yeah.
But still, that's like usually people aren't getting into like the ebook thing, even if
Sure.
it's free. People don't get into that till like they're blogging for 5 years.
Right.
You know, how did that? Was that something at the impetus? You said, okay, I'm going to do this, and then a 3 month quarter in, I'm going to launch my manifesto. How did that whole thing kind of?
Yeah, I think I had it in mind. I think I wanted to create some kind of flagship content or legacy content. I mean, the thing with blogs is you have people coming and going a lot. So when you have somebody new coming to the blog, the question is like, how are you going to orient them? A lot of other people have a shared history. They've been reading for a while, but somebody new comes along. So I wanted to create something that's like, just put it out there. Here's what I'm all about. Here's the brief guide to world domination. Here's how you can take over the world benevolently. And and it also was an important leverage moment as well, because then like I have something to show to people.
Right.
And I work with a great designer. She made it look nice. Made it look very professional. And then that kind of helps us build the audience and go to the next level.
Let me, since you brought it up, just talk about design. Something that's interesting, at least in the blogging world, every other blogger out there, for the most part, and I know a lot of them personally, it's just go launch a blog. It doesn't matter what it looks like. And a lot of bloggers have, even prolific ones have ugly blogs.
Sure.
You say, pay attention to aesthetic.
I think
have this. Why is that important?
Well, I think it is. I think it's important because we do judge a book by its cover,
Yeah, sure.
right? We judge a blog by its cover, and so design is really a critical element to it. Now, I would say though, you don't have to get hung up over it. I do think it's better to start something, and then yeah, exactly. So in the beginning, actually, we didn't start with the current design. I mean, we started with an earlier design that was still, it was nice, but it wasn't,
Sure.
what it is now. So I think it's more important to start. But then, a process of continuous improvement, of always trying to think like, how can we make it better? So I was really fortunate to partner with Reese Spikerman, who's my designer, and she does all my branding, and she's just been fantastic. So she really deserves a lot of the credit for how it looks.
No, it looks good. And you said that, you had gotten a designer and also a professional photographer to take photos of you.
Oh, sure.
Which is a really interesting thing when you're starting out. When did you do that? Like, at what scale in the project had you?
Oh, that was right before the launch, yeah. And when I say professional photographer, it's also a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And they do it for free.
But still,
take it to lunch and stuff.
Yeah. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about messaging? Something that really strikes me about your work is what you say about messaging, and how you have to have a clear and concise message. It's something that struck me personally because I've worked on a lot of things,
right.
but I've never thematically put that together and said, this is what I do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I'm trying to think where to start with that, because that was also something that I don't think I was very good at in the beginning. I think in the beginning I was just saying like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's my travel stuff, here's my business stuff, and I think any blogger or author or anyone trying to build some kind of online platform, they have to be clear about what their message is and why someone else should care about that. Beyond their friends and family, why should someone care about what you have to say? And so for me, what I didn't want to do is distill the message down to one hyper-specific thing that would kind of lock me in. I wanted to be able to write about a number of different things, my international travel, business stuff, profiles of people, fun projects, but also just whatever's on my mind. I go for runs and I write about my running in different cities.
Sure.
But you have to organize it around some kind of theme. So that's where the messaging comes in. So for me, it was like, let's think about nonconformity and what is that? And that's deliberately broad, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Nonconformity, unconventional living, how to do what you want and change the world. I kind of began to kind of, trying to think of the right word, just kind of coordinate around that broad theme, but then look at whatever else it means in different ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it definitely attracts a certain type of person, which is cool.
Yes, it does.
Another thing with respect to messaging is a lot of blogs, maybe it's just your first name. So I know ChrisGuillebeau.com leads the Art of Nonconformity, but your message is up top in your heading, and it is the Art of Nonconformity.
Sure.
Do you feel like if somebody were getting into the writing or blogging game, wanting to be an author, that they should have that message front and center, and then buy, Chris Guillebeau?
I think that's a personal choice. I think there are different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the mistakes I feel like I made, I don't know if it was a mistake, just something I would do differently. I have the domain artofnonconformity.com and .org, but I chose to host the site directly on chrisguillebeau.com. The reason I did that was because I was thinking like, the art of nonconformity is one thing, but I'm hoping to do other projects, you know.
Sure.
So this is going to give me like a long-term space,
Gotcha.
So that was, in a way, it was a good idea. In another way, no one can spell Guillebeau. No one can say Guillebeau. So I get emails every week from people saying, "Oh, I wanted to tell somebody about your site, but I couldn't spell it." So maybe if your name isn't Guillebeau, then it's a good idea.
Right. I think I've tweeted you a few times. I think I've tweeted some guys in France a couple of times.
Yes, exactly.
So initial business model, you're starting out and I'm going to do this project.
Yep.
Obviously it's a passion project, but
Right.
you had some sort of revenue model or strategy. What was that initially, and has that changed since?
Yes, it was strictly a passion project in the beginning. It was like I want to be a writer. I did want to write a book, but I knew there wasn't a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of maybe 3 to 6 months in, right around the time of the Manifesto. People just started asking the same questions over and over. I realized people had a clear need to learn about international travel specifically, and also about entrepreneurship and self-employment. People wanted to know exactly, what I had done, and more importantly, how they could do something, of their own. So I just started thinking, well, I want to keep doing most of my work for free, but maybe I can create some, supplemental resources, and I'll offer those for people who are interested. And so that's the model I use now. I mean, so basically it's grown since then, but it's still the same model.
Yeah, which I think is really neat. I mean, that's cool. Like the unconventional guides thing, and just having all that right there is really, really cool. Your affiliate program is neat as well. You give 51% to your affiliates.
That's right.
That's a very intentional number.
Yes, it is. Right. I wanted to give the affiliates more than I get. Basically, that was the idea with the 51%. It's unconventional because it actually works. I think that's probably the thing. A lot of affiliate programs don't work very well.
Yeah, sure.
Just for a variety of reasons, but.
Let me ask you about, and I got 2 more questions for you. This one I think is very important. You've got this message, but one thing that's sitting right there is I'm going to travel to every country in the world. That's the crazy. That's the I'm doing what I'm talking to you about. I don't just have a message. I'm telling you this is what I'm doing. Right. How important is that for people to do something truly remarkable that maybe is not being done, or is their remarkable thing that they can? And how important is it to say it as opposed to just do it? Like I've traveled to 35 countries, but maybe I don't have a goal behind it, and I've never said I'm going to do this.
Sure.
Maybe quietly have the conversation. How important is it to say it?
Right. Well, I think authenticity is one of those words that's probably overused, and it's like a social media buzzword now. But I think there is something to it. I think the authenticity part is the most important thing. Okay. So I don't necessarily think everyone has to go and visit every country in the world, or X thing, or find something that's hyper unique like that. I think mostly it's just important to walk the walk. So there's a lot of people talking about self-employment who haven't really been self-employed. That's a problem.
That is true.
There's a lot of people writing about how to go and live anywhere or something. They haven't really done that, or they've gone on like one trip or something, which is fine. That's great. But you have to have some kind of expertise, or at least experience. I mean, expertise is overrated, but you have to have some kind of experience in what you're talking about. So, and whatever it is that you've done, or whatever it is that you're interested in, there's probably somebody else out there who's also interested in that, right?
Sure.
That's the beauty of the digital age, of the internet, that we don't have to have like this super specific target market. We don't have to define people based on demographics or gender or where they live or something like that. We can get our message out to people who are interested in the message, wherever they are and whatever background they are.
So, last question. If there is somebody, this trip is primarily targeted towards people who are trying to get out of the situation where they're at, maybe in a corporate world or in an environment they don't want. If that person wants to launch an idea, a project, has something in their heart, what would be a few tips that you've learned from launching a passion project and actually turning it into something substantial that you could give them?
Okay. Well, I think the first thing is, your project is a great example of something that you had this idea, and it took you 10 days or something like that to get it actually get it done and get it going, which is fascinating to me, because so many people have ideas like this and they spend months and months and months, or years, before they do something. So, obviously taking action is really important. I think one of the things people have to think about right from the beginning is thinking about the convergence point between what they're passionate about and what other people are also interested in. Yeah. This is the critical point, because we're passionate about all kinds of things, but we have to find something that other people are also interested in, right? If we can do that, that's where you can develop a real business model. That's what I kind of learned over time. Yeah. Not everyone cares about me visiting every country in the world, and that's fine. Yeah. But if I can help other people travel to one place or something, then that's good, right? So that's good. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, mostly take action. Learn from everywhere you can. I mean, when I started my project, I read like 50 different blogs, and I went back to the beginning and I read where they started and where they went and what mistakes did they make and how do they evolve from that and how do they grow, because you can always see a growth pattern. So the more you can learn, the more you can engage, like what you guys are doing and traveling, and so much the better. But mostly start. Cool.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being with us. And guys, so that's Chris Guillebeau. You guys should check out his site, chrisguillebeau.com, Art of Nonconformity. Buy all this stuff. Dude's amazing, and we appreciate him being with us.